So what would happen is like he started here and he could just hop over this in one turn. And it took me like 8 turns to go around. So he was like I started here, he started here, and he could just bop and hit me in 2 turns. And it was a big pain to deal with him. And then he also had an army that was just like hitting me on the water, and then he had another that was tunneling all over the place, and so he was my biggest problem. The Wood Elves, though, there was like 4 different factions of Wood Elves here, and they were all friends with me. And then Bretonia and the Empire were fine with me. The High Elves were fine with me. There was Grom the Paunch was right here, but he was completely surrounded, so he wasn't a huge deal. And then the dwarves tolerated me until we attacked them. So you had a lot of friends with this playthrough. As far as how it played, couple things. So the Fay Enchantress herself, she started out. She has an ability that is kind of like a weak version of a Mortis engine. Let me see. Hold on a sec. If I do this, let me see if I can find it. It was like Water or Mist of the Lady. Blessing of the Lady, no, that's not it. Dwellers Below, no. Earthblood, no. Chalice, no. Rally. Favor of the Fae. Oh my god, there's so much stuff here. Just a minute. Life Bloom, Arcane Con. Mist of the Lady. Okay, so here we go. This is her bathwater. So anyone nearby gets hit with her mist, and as long as she's in melee, and it lowers their attack and does damage per second. So even though she is squishy, as long as I had her meleeing from the safest possible position, she was constantly killing people around her with her bathwater. So she was actually a very strong combatant early game, and she had access to the Life Magic School, which is one of my favorites because it has a lot of healing and stuff like that. Additionally, she started out with a paladin. He was whatever. He was just your typical, like, he just had the melee attack line. Every single faction pretty much has a hero that has the melee attack line. It's just Unga and Bunga. However, he had a unique set of skills that gave him a strength I've never seen before. He had a shield and a flying mount. What that meant, shield counters arrows. He, on his flying mount, when we attacked city battles, he could fly into the city, go up to every single archer tower, and poke it to death. And they couldn't hurt him. And it took a while, but he could kill like 8, 9, 10 archer towers and barely be scratched. It was actually insane. I've never had a faction with a hero with that unique combination of factors that made him just an I win versus archer towers. So that was kind of interesting. Aside from that, though, there wasn't much to brag about. It was just this. The vow system was kind of interesting. You do a vow and then you get these bonuses. These ones are pretty powerful. Basically, like when the hero would be killed, it will come back. Magical attacks, punches through physical resistance. That's 15% more damage reduction, and perfect vigor means they never get tired. So that was all like really, really strong. However, though, I found the heroes for this faction to be incredibly boring. And the reason for that is there are 2. There is Lady with Spells and Dude on Horse. Let's talk about the Lords. There is Lady with Spells and Dude on Horse. They're the freaking same. There's a Lord and Hero version of the same 2 people, and that's it. That's the whole damn faction. Lady with Spell, Dude on Horse. That's the Lords, and that is the Heroes. So that was very dull. That was extremely dull. There's so many other options for most of the other factions. So the Lords and Heroes system it needs more. It freaking needs more. Then we had the building. The building system, pretty cool. This was not bad at all. It was pretty cool. This whole thing with like the fields that has interactions with windmills, or you could have weaving houses that had interactions with sellers. So basically you would focus on either industry or crops, and then you would use those crops to make peasants, and the peasants had in some cases 0 upkeep or more than, or very low. For example, if we go over here and look at these troops, these guys right here, 0 upkeep. So peasants, as long as you have less than what your farms cap out at, they're free. So you could fill armies with them. Trade-off, they're shit. They are terrible. They die fast, they break easy, they run off the map easy. Like, I think these might be more cowardly than Skaven. The peasant archers have a little bit of an upkeep, but they're archers, so that's good. But essentially with the troops, let me see here. Where is, let's see, this guy, I'm gonna put him in an encampment for a second. So, any of them that had this icon here is basically a peasant, even if the peasant's in different clothes. So, men-at-arms, spearmen-at-arms, men-at-arms with a shield, men-at-arms with a two-handed sword, spearmen-at-arms, they're all peasants. So they all pull from this. So, and they're all really crappy, but they've got different equipment. So, and like this version has 0 upkeep. So this you just fill your army with and then replace them as you can. And then the only other thing is there's peasant archers and then 1,000,000 flavors of peasant that are melee and then 1,000,000 flavors of dude on horse. And that's basically it. So like if we, and then trebuchet. There's trebuchet also. You start with one and then there's a building that lets you make more of it. So if we look here at the, nope, hold on, I need a capital city. Here's the building tree. So like this right here is peasants. So guy with spear, guy with sword, guy with spear and shield, guy with spear, guy with armor piercing sword. All peasants. This right here, horse with spear, horse with bow, horse with a little bit more armor and a lance, horse with a little bit more armor and a shield, horse with a little bit more armor and an armor piercing sword, horse with a bit more armor and shielded, and this was the one with perfect vigor. This is the one that we started with one of these, and it carried us through all of the early battles with the Fay Enchantress's army. She started with one group of these, because they never get tired. So that was actually pretty solid. Then you get to flying, dudes on flying horses, Pegasus, Hippogriff, stuff like that. So again, similar to the Lords and the Heroes situation, I found the troops for Bretonnia extremely dull. Because this is just 6 flavors of almost the same thing, and then like 10 flavors of almost the same thing, and then you got 2 heroes, and then 2 lords that are the exact same as those 2 heroes. And then there was one thing different here. There was Grail Reliquae, which has a magical aura that buffs the stuff around it. So I guess if I'd gotten a little bit later in the game, I would have like one of these in the army to buff the people around it. And then the battle pilgrims. But again, they just very low leadership. They break very easy. I almost enjoyed Skaven troops more than these, because Skaven troops also break easy, but they get a lot of bonuses when they're running away. So it was easier to keep them alive. Because they have a trait called Scurry Away, and when they're running, they get a bunch of bonuses to movement speed and defense. Whereas these guys, they would try to run and just get stabbed in the back and die. So yeah, I like the peasant system. It's a clever system, but the troops or lack thereof with the variation are very boring. And I think like this, like the Lord and Heroes, the 2 lords that are the exact same as the 2 heroes. There needs to be more. And then just troop 1, troop 2, there needs to be more. And then, there's also the trebuchet. That's it. Chivalry and Green Knight. Okay, so Green Knight. Okay, so hang on a sec. There, I just summoned the Green Knight. All right, how good is this fella? What do we got? Well, 1, I can't even see the stats, so that's something. So he does 430 armor piercing damage. This paladin right here does 468. Now, granted, this paladin is level 27. Okay, hold on. Here's a level 6 lord. Level 6 lord. 430 damage, 155 armor. Green Knight, 430 damage, 0 armor, because he's a ghost. Okay, so he is a long cooldown. You have to do a lot of investment to get him. He doesn't last long. And he has no armor. He does have a frostbite magical attack, so he chills people he hits. What does he got here? He has a damage cooldown. He has regen if he's in a forest, specifically. Causes fear, causes terror. Yeah, he's not a bad single combatant. But my god, being on a cooldown? Like, being a limited time thing? Doesn't feel... Like I feel like he should be, like, really strong if he's gonna be, like, calling reinforcements and then he leaves again. Like this guy is just almost interchangeable with a paladin. I don't. Can he do like assassinations or anything? No, he cannot do assassinations. He cannot assault cities, so he doesn't have normal hero skills either. He was the prototype for legendary heroes. Okay, well I'm just grading him on how he is today, and how he is today I'd say he needs work. So the chivalry system, not bad. Even if you're just ignore the Green Knight, at the beginning, chivalry gives you 2 leadership, and at the end it gives you all your starting troops get questing vow done, experience per turn, plus leadership ranks, minus corruption, so plus leadership to all armies. So like getting this chivalry up there is not bad. Early game, you know, you don't want to like, what is it, like murder the captives and stuff because it's not chivalrous. But like at this point, I've got 4,000 chivalry, and then getting -5 chivalry for a naughty decision is not a big deal. So I'm just kind of doing whatever I want at this point. But yeah, the troops were so dull. I started just like filling armies with paladins because it was a little bit better.
Blessings of the lady be upon you.
What else? So Fay Enchantress herself as a lord, she was great. Gotrek and Felix, great. Paladins, okay, had a unique ability to shut down archer towers. The damsel, worse than the wood elf. Like a life magic damsel is worse than a life magic branch wraith from the wood elves, because branch wraiths are basically armored because they're really heavily armored because they're made of wood, whereas the damsels are very fragile, but they can get a mountain move faster. So I guess that's the trade-off eventually once they get the horse. Not sure if there's much else to say. We talked about peasants, talked about chivalry. Oh, you know, this thing. Decent tech tree. We have seen some tech trees that were boring as hell. This is pretty good. This was not bad. This was interesting. You know, there's all this stuff over here about confederations. There's diplomacy with the different factions. Like, so you can, like this one burns the bridge with the greenskins, but then you get immune to attrition in their area. So like, this is kind of interesting. I like this. The timers though, true. I would think we need to get our research rate up, because like, for example, when you defeat Ikit, the lord that defeats Ikit gets +10 research rate. So 10% faster research rate. And I managed to defeat Ikit with 2 lords before we got rid of him. So we ended at 120. I don't know if there's any other way to increase the research rate, but yes, a lot of these are 10-turn research. Like that one's 13. What the hell? These are all like 2 to 5. That's not too bad. But yeah, some of them are very, very long, but there is interesting stuff in here. For example, the research tree for some of the other factions is really interesting, and then some of them is the most boring thing. Yeah, I never got to the point where I was confederating with others. Oh, let's talk about the supply lines. Similar to the Chaos Wars, that Bretonnia doesn't have supply lines. Normally with a faction, when you get an additional lord, it does an additional massive cost for having another army. This one doesn't have that. So once chat told me about that, I basically got through the early game by just having every group, like, you know, this is a real army, and then this is mainly here just because the lords are so strong. So I just had more, like, lords following around the real armies, even if they didn't have any troops, because the lords are so strong in a fight. That was cool, but at the same time, it leads to a tediousness that is why I don't play Age of Wonders 4 as often anymore, because what it leads to is every single turn, I have to, you know, move this lord, click, move that lord, click, move that lord. You know, I have to move them like 1, 2, 3, next turn, 1, 2, 3, next turn, 1, 2, 3. So I have to constantly, you know, move them like that, because that's, you know, how you win. That's how you win. Now uber late game, you might end up doing that with any faction, but for Bretonnia, like, that's the whole game. Like, the whole time you're moving your guys around in packs, because the lords are just really strong, and, you know, they don't have the supply line thing, so they're effectively pretty cheap. Due to Bretonnia being a free faction and being a Warhammer 1, it's really outdated without any DLC. I'm kind of seeing that now. So, yeah, I mean, this was kind of fun. It was definitely kind of challenging. Ikit killed my second army on multiple occasions. So, and then we had that weird item that corrupted. So, basically my second army got destroyed. I made a new second army. Later on, it got destroyed. This was like my third second army, and I was using this new item that was added, this really powerful item called Jug of Dream Wine, that apparently got the person, after having it a few turns, they got a trait that gave them like 20 Slanesh corruption in the area around them. So apparently this item corrupts you to Slanesh, and I was just like, what the hell is this? So this thing ended up being a trap card. What was it? It was like minus 100% to your leadership, plus 20 corruption around you. So once I realized that, how did you get that? It's tied to unusual locations. I don't know. That's another thing. Bretonia, I've gotten unusual locations a lot with this faction. Like here's a healer's camp. Like we got like 3 or 4 during this playthrough. No, that's not it. Hold on a sec. Like one was like a vineyard. I think it was this exquisite vineyard. So this just happened. Chance for events to trigger related to this location. So yeah, it just happened. But yeah, so I saw it. I was like, wow, I've never seen this item. This is really cool. Used it, and then after a while, I realized the lord that had it was basically completely shut down. Minus 100% leadership, plus 20 corruption around them. And it sucked because they had already had 2 of their vows done, and I had to replace them and throw them out and get a new one. When they had the new one had no vows. So it was kind of rough. But the Jug of Dreamwine thing, I don't know if that could happen with any faction or if that was specifically a Bretonian thing. But yeah, it was kind of fun. Fay Enchantress was kind of cool. I found the lords and the heroes to be kind of boring, that they were just versions of the same thing. The troops were just dudes and horses, and that's basically it. Then there was a trebuchet. So definitely the troops need some love. I found the research tree pretty cool. The city building was pretty cool. And the chivalry system was pretty cool. The Green Knight sucks. The peasant system was pretty cool. But the peasants themselves felt really trash. I think that's it. I think that's all my thoughts on Bretonia. Never got to the point where I confederated the others. I didn't really feel the urge to keep going to that point. Maybe I'll try it some other time in the future. But yeah, I think that's where I'm going to leave off with the Fay Enchantress. I think at this point we have tried at least one legendary lord for each faction, except Daniel the Demon, the Empire. I haven't done the Wood Elves on stream, the Lizardmen on stream, Tzeentch, although I did play a Warrior of Chaos that was Tzeentch leaning. I haven't played Tzeentch. I think that's it. I think we have done a playthrough. Oh, wait. Did I say ogres? I don't know if I said ogres. Ogres and Khorne are getting a big DLC next month. So we're not going to do ogres until after that. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So this is cool. I'm going to wrap up the Bretonia playthrough here, and I'll see y'all in the next one.